GamingBolt presents 25 greatest crossovers in video games. Gaming has an insane amount of fantastic franchises, and every so often they come together to form one singular experience. These crossovers don't happen often, but when they do, they are spectacular. Here are the 25 greatest crossovers in video games. Please note that this list is in random order. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Capcom's characters have fought seemingly every other franchise in existence, but the Tatsunoko crew of mischief makers were the perfect opponents. The crazy characters from games like Street Fighter clashed with anime legends like Joe the Eagle. Everything was over the top and filled with screaming and beams of energy, just like every crossover should be. Kingdom Hearts. Mix together Final Fantasy and Disney and you get Kingdom Hearts, an original story featuring characters from both series in guest appearances. The story of Sora is one filled with darkness and friendship, and the third-person action makes for a different kind of RPG and a faster pace overall. Street Fighter X Tekken. Bandai had Tekken, and Capcom had Street Fighter, but the two coming together for one massive fight resulted in some amazing face-offs and plenty of waterfall punching and volcanoes. Both series are insane in their own right, making for an absolutely strange crossover. The entire game was done in Street Fighter style, meaning 2D and with plenty of combos, adding new depth to Tekken characters. Alien vs. Predator. These two classic survival movie monsters have clashed on the big screen, but their battles in video games are something else entirely. You can play as either beast, pulling out spines or gobbling down heads. No matter what, there will be buckets of blood, and that's a promise. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Capcom characters like to pick fights, but one of the best bouts they've had is against Marvel's superheroes. The cast of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is absolutely massive, including almost every character you can possibly think of, thrown together into teams of 3 battling for supremacy. Sega Superstars and Sega Superstars Tennis. When the Sega characters aren't racing in high-tech transforming cars, they're solving their problems on the court. Like any arcade sports game, there are power-ups to utilize and tactics to use that would never work in real life. Mario Hoops 3-on-3. Mario and Final Fantasy characters both have one thing in common. They are capable of playing basketball. Mario Hoops 3-on-3 puts this to the test. While the players were mostly comprised of the Red Plumber's friends, various Final Fantasy characters do pop up in this Square Enix developed game. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Who would win in a fight between Superman and Scorpion? Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe answers this question. The blood and gore that has defined the Mortal Kombat series is absent, but it's still a great fighting game nonetheless. Pulling off combos and smashing superheroes through the walls with the likes of Jax never gets old. Warriors Orochi. Warriors Orochi mixes the gameplay of Dynasty Warriors with the characters and storylines of Samurai Warriors. Hacking and slashing through hordes of enemy samurai is a fun change to the classic Dynasty Warriors style, and the cast of characters and their various outrageous abilities make the tried and true gameplay feel fresh. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Of all the companies to feature its entire roster of characters in a single game, Nintendo hit gold with Super Smash Bros. And Brawl was the pinnacle of the series. The roster was better than ever, and the addition of a new story mode meant that fighting against CPU characters wasn't all that you could do. It was incredibly well realized and quickly showed Nintendo's prowess at creating a fantastic fighting game. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. Sega is another company with a massive back catalog of series and characters. Nintendo has Mario Kart, so Sega launched Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. The diverse roster of Sega characters is fun to play as, but it's the transforming vehicles that are the star of the show. One minute you're drifting around the corners, and the next you're soaring through the skies before pushing through rapids and avoiding crashing waves. Fortune Street. A party game similar to the Mario Party series, characters from the Mario and Dragon Quest franchise compete to have a fun time. The two series may not seem like they belong in the same game, but the incredibly different playstyles that meld into a strange and whimsical virtual board game is a ton of fun. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Mario and Sonic have been rivals for years, but they eventually found a way to see who's best once and for all: the Olympics. Characters from both series compete in a variety of events, proving which team is the most athletic. But in reality, it's just an excuse to witness Wario on a horse. The King of Fighters. SNK has created plenty of fantastic fighting games. King of Fighters is one of their most popular series now, but it originally began as a mashup of Fatal Fury and The Art of Fighting. The end product was an incredibly technical, bombastic fighting game with a crazy cast that offered up plenty of variety. Dissidia Final Fantasy. Each Final Fantasy game is a completely separate title with its own characters, story, and world. Dissidia threw all of them together and made them do the one thing that they can: fight and argue about crystals. The fluid 3D action finally let fans see matchups play out that they had envisioned for years. Super Mario Bros. Crossover. This fan-made title has a pretty simple premise. It's Super Mario Bros. With a couple of classic Nintendo characters added to the roster. It's strange and fun to play through the first game in the Super Mario series as Mega Man, Samus, or even Link. It switches up the pacing and makes an old game feel new again. Street Fighter Cross Mega Man. A platformer with the visuals of Mega Man and a bevy of other Capcom characters makes for some hectic action and fantastic callbacks to classic Capcom titles. The game makes way for some great fights at the end of each lovingly crafted stage. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. PlayStation has a storied past with plenty of memorable characters. PlayStation All-Stars is a mashup of many franchises, both owned by Sony and not, to create a frantic party game that sees Nathan Drake beating the stuffing out of Sackboy. Some of these characters may not belong on the same screen, but the weirdness is what makes it so much fun to play. Battletoads and Double Dragon, the ultimate team. If you need a bunch of stuff punched or thrown, who better to call than Billy and Jimmy Lee of Double Dragon and the Battletoads? The two teams must join forces to defeat a terrifying evil. It's a simple setup to make way for a beat-em-up crossover that mixes the absurdity of both series. ROBOCOP vs. the Terminator. Two robots, one sent from the future to kill a young boy who will one day lead a revolution, the other programmed to uphold justice using any means possible. ROBOCOP has to fight through throngs of evil machines, working his way through the city streets and hostile bases to take down the evil Skynet. Seeing both classic characters on screen at the same time is thrilling, and the game itself is pure awesome. Capcom vs. SNK. Capcom and SNK were two of the premier fighting game developers in the 1990s, so the characters of the series like Street Fighter, The King of Fighters, and Darkstalkers, not to mention Mega Man and a slew of Final Fight characters, all got together and fought to the death. It makes for a fantastic cast and a mix of really fun fighting mechanics. Pokemon Conquest. Ancient Japanese war tactics don't necessarily spring to mind when you think of Pokemon. Nobunaga's ambition has always been a series based on the spectacle of Japanese wars, but Pokemon Conquest took the strategy-heavy gameplay and let you lead the elemental critters into battle instead of legions of infantry. This led to a great take on the Pokemon series, with a new path to forge and fantastic characters to run into. X-Men vs. Street Fighter. The characters of the Street Fighter series have always fought first and asked questions later. So, of course, the most logical matchup for them was the superpowered teens of the X-Men. Fireballs, adamantium claws, and whirlwind kicks fill the screen, offering both a fantastic fighter and a love letter to fans of both series. It also gave us an actually serviceable X-Men fighting game. Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright. Both Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright solve bizarre mysteries, have strange sidekicks, and task players with using logic and navigating complex conversations in order to proceed. It only made sense that the two would team up, using their superior intellect to get to the bottom of a spooky supernatural crime. The character and style in this crossover oozes out of the screen, making for an incredibly different and unique puzzle and visual novel title, Project X Zone. The fine folks at Capcom and Bandai Namco came together to see which of their characters are stronger. You guide teams of characters and finally get to see the likes of Mega Man go head-to-head with Heihachi of Tekken fame. But it's great to see all of these characters sharing the same screen.
Like this video? Why not give us a like and subscribe? We try and upload amazing videos almost every single day. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.